totally misrepresenting what happened. This bill never went to HSC. Never. Minister talked about bills we supported and didn't support, and child marriage bill and so on. Look, I have the list here, but I'll leave it for another day because I really want to get back to the meat at hand, the matter at hand, and to demonstrate that at the end of this day and the end of the debate in the Senate, nothing would have brought any tangible benefits to the people of Superior and to the people of Diego Martin as a result of this name change bill. The Prime Minister spoke about how a borough would help us. Nothing did the Minister say. Prime Minister, Diego Martin rest. Not a word about what benefits we will get from this bill. So here we are today. Here we are. When we are dealing with this bill, as we discuss the merits and demerits of it, we are doing so at a time of chaos and uncertainty in the local government system. As we discuss the merits and demerits of the proposed legislation before us, our local government reps from both sides of the political divide, they are in a state of limbo. And when the Prime Minister made this statement, I did ask that question for a reason, because the statement that he gave took us up to the date of the Privy Council decision, but not a word about post-Privy Council decision. What is the status? They are in limbo, whether they be from Superior, whether it be from Diego Martin, and throughout the system. So as we come to make this amendment to change the status of the Superior and the other one, the honourable member for San Fernando West is piloting the bill again. The only way I can do this is to go through with what the honourable member said, because I do not want to stray from relevance. We are not debating the local government reform bill. That was done and passed in this House by some members. Today we are debating the name change to these two corporations. At page 24 of the Hansard, which records the contribution of the member for San Fernando West, member said, local government reform must be a feature of our independent and Republican country. All highfalutin words, very lofty words. This member is very, very used to coming with something really grand and great. But if you are so concerned about local government reform as a feature of independent TNT, why don't you give local government the constitutional protection that they need, rather than leave it to a government who will use a simple majority to postpone elections as you did, and then you were overruled by the Privy Council? On 3 occasions, the PNM has done this. Use local government to deprive people of their right to go to the vote. Yeah. The honourable member told us, shame on you, and I'll come back to that in a moment. You know, for us in the UNC, the Prime Minister tell us they said, all we want is election date. All we want is election date. And therefore, what will happen? What will change? Well, I'll tell you, everything will change. Everything will change. When you are voted out, everything will change. We were there once. We have a track record, and we can do it again. I want to remember at page 24 of the Hansard, San Fernando West, this bill articulates around several amendments. Again, the language, articulates around several amendments to the Municipal Corporations Act, which we passed and which we partially proclaim. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Privy Council found that the manner in which we expected to proclaim law to extend the terms of councillors and aldermen was wrong. So you have left us in this state of legal confusion. The member continued, we partially proclaim recent amendments, and specifically in giving ourselves time for local government reform, which is what this conversion to borough status is. Yet about months later, almost half of the extra year that the government gave itself to bring and to implement the local government reforms, up to today, nothing has been done. Nothing. So the Prime Minister is speaking of it all the time, Minister all the time, local government reform, local government reform. Name me one tangible thing that has been done. Nothing has been done. You proclaim the procurement law, fully proclaimed it, which now means that all these corporations, including Superior and Diego Martin, all these corporations, they have to have procurement officers and everything. Nothing has been put in place. So whilst it is that the Central Tenders Board Act is being amended here under this Borough Status Bill. Amendment to the CTB Act, which says that anything that started under the CTB will continue. That's what Procurement Act tells us. And CTB is here amended, so it now includes that they will have purview, jurisdiction over the borough now of Siparia and borough of Lego Martin. Previously, name change again. What's in a name? All of it is merely cosmetic name changing. So in the procurement issues, and having the CTB there, not a single thing can happen in terms of goods and services in this new borough of Siparia and new borough of Lego Martin, because you don't have officers. And every contractor has to apply to the procurement regulator. They have to register. So everything is at a standstill. For two reasons. One is that full implementation of the procurement, but no implementation of what is needed for that reform with the procurement law. And the second is that the local government practitioners, apart from the mayor and chairman, they are all defunct. They expired, they retired on the 3rd of December last year, and therefore cannot function. A lot of work has to be done by committees of the councils, and the Honourable Attorney General, you know, there's the Honourable former Attorney General. There's a kind of malaise taking place, a kind of pattern of behavior, where ministers are going to court, swearing witness statements, witness affidavits, and not speaking the truth. Yeah. Not speaking the truth. We all know the famous one in the Miami court. But in this very case that the Honourable Member San Fernando West, thank God for the judiciary, and it's in the Hansard, I can give you the page numbers so I can respond to it. That Privy Council ruling. When they went to court, the minister...
48-6, identifying a member of parliament and imputing improper motive to him, and saying somebody is not swearing, right? 48-6.
Again. Okay. Honourable member, again, you said you're quoting from Hansard, or you're going on to a different document now?
No, I'm giving the affidavit evidence from the court.
With regards to the Privy Council ruling?
Yes, sir.
No, again, I would not allow you to go down on that particular aspect.
Go back to the Hansard and continue why.
Because I know you were quoting from the Hansard all the time. So, again, right, so members, I have ruled, proceed. I'm recognizing Siparia, member for Siparia.
I am guided, and I'm saying in the Hansard, the Honourable Member said that they partially proclaimed reset amendments, giving themselves time for local government reform. And I was raising the point that in spite of almost 6 months, what has been done? It is correct. At a press conference in November, the minister announced the postponement of the election, indicating that they intended to draft a schedule of activities to roll out reform. The minister, we were informed, and this was also repeated at a monthly meeting of ministry chairman and practitioners and so on. Again, no sight of the schedule.
Nothing.
As an editorial pointed out today, I think today or yesterday, or early in the week, that during the Privy Council hearings, Council for Government made it clear that the reason for delay in holding elections was to give government enough time to roll out the full complement of legislative amendments. And the question says it's very curious, therefore, halfway through that year, which they set themselves, they have yet to implement even one of those promises. So when the Honourable Prime Minister comes here today and talks about local government reform and local government reform, where's the schedule? Local government reform, page 37 by San Fernando West, is being aggressively implemented. Aggressively. Where's the schedule for the rollout of this package? Has anything been communicated to the corporations?
Aggressively.
They have done nothing since they postponed the election. And then at paragraph 24, I quote from the Hansard of the Honourable Member. Minutes ago, in the Court of Appeal, we just won the law, the challenge that was brought by the UNC against the government to try and shrink out amendments. It's in the Hansard. You want a copy of Hansard? Page 24.
I rise on Standing Order 55-1B. That 2 other speakers speak on this already. Certainly Couva North, you just read that all out.
Again, remember, I give you some leeway. I give you some leeway. Tighten, as we say, with regards to, it's not local government we're dealing with, but the 2 boroughs.
So, boasting that they won the challenge against the government to try and strike out amendments. That is totally not true. There was no application in the court that Minister was speaking about to strike out any amendments. No, it is untrue, and we must correct the record. It is untrue. You have come here and you tell untruth all the time.
Forgive him, Lord.
Nothing was to strike out amendments. Before the court, it was an interpretation that was asked for about whether that section applied to the income months. That is what was before. And today, the Honourable Prime Minister got it right, which is unusual. He got that point right. It was an interpretation. It was not a strike-out application at all. So I want to correct the record on that matter.
No wonder he got demoted.
Right, so here we are with this entire, whether there was consultation or no consultation. Again, the Honourable Prime Minister misled this Parliament, in my respectful view, when he said there was widespread consultation going back from 1990 or the NAR and way back when. No. Those had nothing to do with borough status and the name of a borough. Nothing whatsoever to do. Nothing. Then the Honourable Member told us at page 28 of the Hansard that these 2 corporations, member for Couva North mentioned that the member talked about the desire of the people of Siparia and the desire of the people of Diego Martin. I'm not going into that detail about the desire. But again, I want to correct the record about what the minister has put into this record. That here it is that the people of Siparia passed this resolution. The UNC councillors passed this resolution. The Prime Minister came to them and tried to say that we or somebody was asking them to change their vote. Nothing of the sort has happened. Nothing has happened. That was totally untrue. And therefore, to say that these resolutions passed by they were passed by a previous council. They were passed in 2019. The terms of those councils ended in December 2019 when the elections were called. It was a previous council that passed them. That election date was 11th October 2019, and these resolutions, the member gave the date. They were passed in 2020. And I want to refer, they were passed 21st, the Siparia Corporation, 21st January, and the other ones were passed thereafter. Now, the Minister talked about consultation. And Prime Minister, again, he said the first point is consultation. When you look at the minutes of a meeting held in the Siparia Corporation on February 6th, 2019, this is after the motions were passed. This motion, this meeting, the PS came, the former minister came down, all the councillors and all the men, they were all present on that day, Monday, 20th September 2021, followed upon the motion at the Siparia Corporation. And this is what those councillors had to say. On the 20th September 2021, they made it very clear. Listen, Alderman Chanarde Ramadas Singh indicated that the motion was moved in 2019. There was no information communicated to members of the council. They were not enlightened of same previously, whether the motion was still valid. Councillor Javed Mohammed informed that there were 4 new members of council. 4 new members of the then council who had nothing to do with the previous motion. They had no information whatsoever in this matter. So when you want to talk about elected representatives of Siparia, who now you're saying voted for this and said desire, the councillors are telling us for themselves 4 new members. They had not given any documentation. And he said he represented Burgesses, and unfortunately this matter just appeared. Alderman Ramadas Singh again informed the corporation did not receive any correspondence informing or updating about this matter. Alderman Christine Neptune questioned why this particular motion was a concern and why it seemed as though this was suddenly thrown at the council. Councillor Derek Boren raised concerns, time frame for implementation, funding to change physical assets with the new name, changing boundaries. And so that meeting continued. Councillor Dunad Meru informed that there was a need for dialogue with the burgesses and how the change would affect same both negatively and positively. And it continues, the minister there. I'll move on the point. So on the issue of consultation, I want to say they are very, very mistaken. No consultation with the burgesses, if you call them. What do you call them then? I'm told that when you're in a borough, you're called burgesses. When you're in a city, you're called citizens. When you're a regional corporation, they're called what? Residents or electorate. So no consultation with the electorate. And then you tell me, you come here, you tell us. You set up committees, ministerial committees. My colleague mentioned it, talked about it, Kuvanot. These committees, you couldn't find one opposition member to sit on the committee, not one. Not one, and then you want to say you consulted. We have a chairman, a UNC chairman there. You had these committees, we don't know what they did or didn't do. I think the member has a nice way of saying it, that these interministerial committees were set up to what? Investigate or prosecute or persecute, words to that effect. Again, no opposition. MPs were in these cabinet things. So the process of this thing appears to be the genesis, appears to be in these motions moved by a PNM alderman in now a defunct Superior Regional Corporation. Thereafter, this committee, ministerial committee, was set up, and they leave out the whole UNC out of it, which is the controlling votes inside of the Superior Corporation in the council. But what did they do? In Superior, they came and they picked up the one PNM alderman to do this interministerial meeting, himself to himself. So don't come to this parliament and misrepresent and tell people you consulted the people of Superior. You did not consult Superior. Yeah. So, Amber said they investigated, here's his wording, investigated and interrogated the subcommittee. What did they investigate and interrogate? And whom did they investigate and interrogate, as I say, having left out all the people? At paragraph 26, give me a time check, please. At paragraph 26, we see that a corporation, the member of the San Fernando West, he says a corporation, a borough, and a town, a city are all, in fact, all municipal corporations. So whichever one, that's what I was telling Aruka Maloney a little while ago, whether it's a borough, whichever, they're all under the Act, municipal corporations. And that is correct. The minister did say that. But according to the Judicial Committee, the UK's Privy Council Office, this is different from the Privy Council, their definition, their website says, the conferring of borough status is purely honorific, like an honor. It's an honor. The district council becomes a borough council, and as a result, the district council chairman and deputy chairman may style themselves mayor and deputy mayor. The change in status had no impact on the functions or responsibilities of the local authority. No impact whatsoever. None whatsoever. The minister's 5 minutes? Oh, yeah. The minister then in 27 says, but they're consequential amendments. Trying to use those to show us that, look, yeah, there's some changes. Going to be some changes. We know. I'll come back to those in clauses 4 and 5 to see what those are. The minister said, 27 again in this really lofty language, the government has an obligation to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of its society, pursuant to Section 53 of the Constitution. And today we stand here with that capacity to amend the laws that we do. Which part of this law, in this bill, which part of it is going to bring good governance to Trinidad and Tobago? What part of it? What part of it will bring peace? What part of it will bring good governance? What in this bill will allow for peace when you see all the killing, the home invasions, the crime and so on, when you talk about good governance, tell me and show me where in this change of name. This is a change of name bill, you know. Nothing else is changing. Tell me what else is this. How is this going to benefit the people of Siparia and the people of Diego Martin? So all the nice language, but even the Prime Minister today, Deputy Speaker, could not name one benefit of this borough change, this name change. Not one. Talked about community identification, and that's why he quoted the Arima, the Royal Arima, wrongly quoted about, named it. Talked about that, but kept saying community identification. Hey, where in this bill is that community identification if you change from regional corporation to borough? I keep making that point because that to me is the key issue in this entire debate and changing the name. Look, I have nothing against anything that will bring benefit to the people of Diego Martin, Siparia, and indeed all of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the member understands, you know, that this name change is really merely just a name change, because at page 28 in the Hansard, he talks about certain indicators moving from a town to a borough to a city, and didn't tell us what these indicators are. And indeed, in his wind-up, he made clear to share some of these indicators. In clause 6 of the bill, at paragraph 24, the minister says, page 28 of the Hansard, in clause 6, we'll talk about whether you can reverse, how you park, indicators, etc. And you'll see that in clause 6 of the bill. So we just jumped it there and moved on, but I'll come back to that, because let's see what this traffic thing, these amendments, what are they going to actually do? Minister talked about 83 years away from last creation of a borough, page 28, by way of local economic development. Again, what is the source of this data? What is the data? By way of comparison with the EBC, there's no change with the EBC. You told us no boundary changes. You told us the same number of councillors will remain, the same number of aldermen will remain. So nothing is changing in the EBC, even though you're amending the RPA, the Representation of the People Act. You amended, but all you amended to do is put in the new name. Nothing changes. Boundaries the same. Electorate the same. The number of aldermen, 4. The number of councillors elected, 4, remains the same. So RPA amendment here doesn't change the price of cocoa. Nothing changes, only the name. The member told us about significant growth and so on. I think my colleague spoke a bit about that, and I would not go down that line. But just remember, the Tunapuna Corporation, as you well know, has an airport, one of the best airports in the Caribbean. In terms of Siparia, member talk, look, you will have your chance, and if you stand up and talk, we may listen to you. So if you have a point of order, please feel free to raise it.
No,
so just calling shame is not going to help
Member
us.
for Siparia. Yeah, Honourable Member for Siparia, rest assured you will be protected, right? Please, right? Rest assured you will be protected, but you know, please let's do it in a nice fashion with decorum, please. Oh yes, your initial speaking time has elapsed. You have an additional 15. You care to avail yourself?
I thank you very much,
Right,
sir.
proceed on.
Okay, so let's talk about these other changes and whether that is going to benefit the people. The minister told us we have to look at the amendments to the motor vehicles and road traffic regulations. What does that tell us? What change is there going to be now that we're going to call these places a borough? What is the change there for motor vehicle? Tells us things about reversing. Tells us about where you could park, where you cannot park. Tell me how any of that is going to help the traffic congestion in Diego Martin and in Sapari. Tell me about it. So we have clause 5, clause 3rd schedule amendments and so on. And we come to the Motor Vehicle Act. Listen what it is as a benefit from the amendments to this act as consequential amendments here. Borough of Diego Martin name changes. Regulation 2 is amended. Municipal area means the boroughs and so on. Regulation 29 is amended as follows. Notwithstanding the provisions of Regulation 28 and a motor vehicle when stationary at night within the boundaries of these boroughs now, which will include these two, need not show 2 lights in front and at least 2 lamps at the back if all the following conditions are complied.
Big change.
Big change. How is it going to help traffic congestion? The conditions are if such vehicle is drawn up as close as possible to its left or near side of the road. If there is a fixed or painted on the rear of the vehicle a reflective material or substance that is easily visible. Regulation 38 is amended as follows. He shall not cause the motor vehicle to travel backwards for a greater distance or time than may be requisite for the safety or convenience of the occupants of the motor vehicle. How is this going to help the quality of life and the traffic? Because look at Port of Spain, which is a city, has the same traffic regulations. And what happens in Port of Spain? Gridlock jam.
Non-stop.
We change it into a borough, then it's not going to help anyone. The driver of a public service vehicle shall comply with the following regulations. He shall not, in these cities and boroughs and so on, draw up his omnibus on a road other than at a public stand appointed under the Act. So all these takeaways are really consequential amendments that will not impact or benefit the residents, citizens in those places. We talk about amendments with respect to the Markets and Abattoirs Act. What are we doing? You know what is the amendment? Now that you're going to be called a borough, you cannot sell fish or meat in an open space. So what about all those Diego Martin fishermen? What about all of them? What about all our fishermen down in Cedros, down in Queen Anne, down Lossy Row, wherever it may be in Sapara? What's going to happen? You cannot sell. Now that you're a borough, wow, you're very, very, very important. Honored. You're honored to be a borough. So there are several other areas where the consequential amendments, I'm looking for that brief with you, consequential amendments. So one immediate thing that will happen is this. You will get a change of name from chairman to mayor, and from deputy chairman to deputy mayor.
Big deal.
Big deal. Because when you look at the act now, the main act, it says all these are still municipalities. They're all the same. Then you get the change as well to the markets and slaughterhouse. That's the one I was looking at. Part 8 of that act will now apply to these places. This part does not apply to a municipality which is not a city or borough, except whatever. But by legal notice 133 of 1993, the operation of Part 7, Part 8 of the Act was extended to these municipal corporations. So they already had it extended to them by a legal notice, all the regional corporations. So when you change them now into boroughs, it's not going to change the price of cocoa or fish or meat. There are a few sections that remain, and this is what will happen. No person may hold market for the sale of fresh meat, fish, or other marketable commodities in any place within a city or borough, not being a public market. That's the point I made before. So that to me seems to be like a disadvantage rather than a benefit. There's some other provisions, again, ludicrous and minor. With respect to municipal police, again, there's no change here. Legal notice number 194 of 1996, no material difference when it comes to the municipal police. Come to clause 4. All these are consequential changes. So all these changes are basically, I said again, to put in the new name changes. So as I give me a time check, please. As we close on this matter, 10 minutes, oh great. EBC change, In this act, you have a consequential amendment and others. Again, municipality means now to include these 2 new boroughs. For the purposes of the act, we are divided and now we change it. Before it was 5. It was 5, 7 regional. You just, again, consequential to reflect the 2 new ones. That takes care of the consequential amendments in this particular piece of law. I talked to you about the motor vehicles and road traffic regulations, and again, nothing to bring benefit to anyone. So when we compare them to see where we are going, we are not going to get any better. And if I may go to one other point, my colleague raised the issue of the cost of signage. This name change is going to cost the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago. How much? And I wish the minister would tell us. My colleague raised the question how much it is. Let's just look at Siparia. The cost just to change the sign. You have to change that sign from regional, Siparia Regional to Siparia Borough. Same thing up in Dago. You'll have to do the same. You have to change signage on every street. You have to change it in every cemetery, We have to change it in Siparia cremation site. You have to change it in markets and abattoirs. You have to change it in recreation grounds and parks, on vehicles, signage on buildings. You have to change it. Cost of new stamps. You have to buy new stamp, New stamp. You have to buy new stationery, financial documents. The checks have to be changed too. Name tags, badges, uniforms, all of this. In Siparia, I am advised that there are 412 streets, vested streets approximately. So you have to go and change 412 street signs. Look at this. That's what it's going to cost, over $1 million to $2 million in just signage. What is the benefit to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Conclusion.
Waste money.
What is the benefit for the people of Trinidad and Tobago? And one other thing, Minister, I think you need to talk to somebody like the Minister of Finance, because you gave figures for monies allocated to the corporations. That is totally not true. You said, for example, that Siparia got, what was it? 82 million. Yes. Let us look at Siparia, page 37 of your Hansard. Siparia has received this year 88 million. In 2021, they got 10 million.
Wow.
Here, that is not the truth. That is totally not true. 382% increase in funding, totally not true. In terms of requests for funding, we can demonstrate up to nearly 4% increase in funding for the borough of Siparia. Not true, Mr. Deputy Speaker, totally not true. If you look at the estimates for development expenditure, the minister is way off the mark. Way off the mark. So when the minister tells us now that they had 10 million before, and they're now getting what? 104 million, got 88 million. Yes. What he did was to take oranges and apples and join them together. He was adding the development expenditure when he gave the big figure together with the recurrent expenditure. But when he gave the one for the 10 million, he didn't do that. So he gave the lower figure. Again, just misleading this house. Misleading this house. There was some material change to the allocations, or the actual spend and so on. And the issue that the minister pointed this time, the point the minister made about people not using the money, nothing is further from truth. Nothing further from the truth. Nothing further from the truth. So when we see here now, there was an instance in where was it, Grandy somewhere, you give them the money, what is it, could you a week or something before the budget? You give it 2 days before the end. How will they spend it? But how come we didn't have that problem under the administration I led? And then minister says, oh, you get a great benefit here, it's a great benefit. You will now be able to get twinning. The local government association, you could twin. Minister, are you the local government minister of this country now? Don't you know Sandy Grandy, who is a regional corporation, is twinned with an international corporation abroad? Don't you know that? You don't have to become a borough to be twinned. You can be anyone. I'm sure the Deputy Speaker knows as a local government practitioner. You don't have to become a borough. You don't have to be, it's been going on for years. You don't have to become a borough to get twinning status. And then the minister tells us again, well, you could get more funding now. You could get loans and so on. It is always the law of our land, unless it is changed, that any statutory body who wants to get a loan, and all these corporations are statutory bodies created under statute, if you want to get a loan, you have to go to the Honorable Minister of Finance. So don't talk finance again, future minister. Talk to the Minister of Finance. Talk to the Minister of Finance. Those are some of the main areas that I recall. And as I close, I want to thank you, Deputy Speaker, for the time.
Blues, you share blues.
So I can't talk about the Privy Council judgment, but I can tell you something. The right to vote, for citizens to exercise a right to vote, whether they be in a borough of Superior or whether they be in the borough of Digomat, wherever they may be. I want you to remember this acronym, VOTE. What does it mean? Victory of the electorate. Vote, victory of the electorate. But it seems that the PNM, vote means victory over the electorate. Power for them and victory of power over the electorate. The opposition, UNC, we will always stand with the people of TNT. We will support measures that will improve the quality of their lives. I say again, this bill represents nothing more than a superficial change. And the people of Diego Martin and Superior, indeed the whole of TNT, we deserve a government that will seek their best interest. This government has shown that it does not care about fixing the mess they have created. Failing economy, spiraling crime rate, declining business sector, high unemployment. I say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the people want change and we demand that change. And we say to them, you're suffering, we know, but don't tote, vote. Don't tote. If there's high prices, there's flooding, there's crime, unemployment, don't tote, vote. And when you go to vote, you vote for the UNC. I thank you very much.